Hey there, Cheesemeisters, and welcome back to the Peach Pod After Dark. I am Jeff, and are you absolutely 100% certain that your wife isn't sleeping with all of Paris right now? And joining me on the other end of the internet is my cuz-host.
I'm Leslie, and I can't stand this music.
She likes old music, like Grace Jones from 4 years ago.
Yeah.
It's pretty great. All right, Cheesemeisters, this week we are talking about Frantic, the 1987 Roman Polanski Let Me Make Another One in France because I love France and for no other reason
Yep.
masterpiece, starring Harrison Ford, Betty Buckley, Emmanuel Singer, I don't know, and a brief appearance by the Big Lebowski himself, David Huddleston.
Oh, yeah.
He very much walks in this movie, and accosts people at the airport. Just get out of the way, Mr. Lebowski.
I still keep calling him the evil guy from the Muppet movie.
Different guy.
Wait, what?
Yeah, those aren't the same people.
Oh, good grief.
Yep. That's Charles Durning is Doc Hopper, and David Huddleston is the Big Lebowski. And the doctor, he's one of the many doctors who, this dude can't go anywhere in Paris without running into doctors he knows. I mean, it is inconvenient.
Right?
But I suppose we'll talk about that as well. We are watching this week in conjunction with Season 3, Episode 3, Too Little Too Late / Paris 75001. Our spelling connection is Betty Buckley, Harrison Ford's wife in this movie, who gets second billing even though she's in like 2 scenes. She was in an episode of Melrose Place.
She's
so
a
there's
big
our
deal.
spelling connection. What's that?
She's a big deal, Betty Buckley.
Well, I agree, but she doesn't have a lot to do in this movie.
No, probably because she was dividing her time between this and Broadway.
I mean, I doubt it. I mean, she was in Paris. I don't think she was like running home on the weekends.
Okay, well then the West End, because she also worked there.
Sure, but like at the same time, I bet she took a break. That's all I'm saying. I mean,
listen,
Buckley,
when you are a musical theater actor, you have to be getting that film work for the money.
Sure, the one for them, one for me kind of thing.
Yep. So right, I hear.
What's her deal on Broadway? Like, what is she known for? Because I don't know anything about Betty Buckley other than she was in an episode of Melrose Place, as previously discussed.
She's known for Cats.
You know that play? That play's about cats. Like, I thought it'd be, I don't know, about life, or it's about cats.
It's just about cats.
Release the butthole cut. Eat it!
No! You and Walter both! Oh my god!
I'm fascinated by the notion of the butthole cut, but, you know, how can you be? That's so weird.
It is so weird. Again, one of many shows that was never going to transfer well from stage to screen, because what makes it impressive, if you like that play, is the way they make people look like cats.
Right. Yep. Yeah.
It's not really as impressive on film when there are things like CGI.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that person was wearing a green suit or a bunch of ping pong balls. And Rum Tum Tugger. Yeah, I don't know. I never saw that movie. I don't intend to see that movie unless, swear to God, unless there's a butthole cut.
I did. I was drunk and stoned the whole time.
Well, sure. How could you not be?
And sadly, I'm remembering one of the worst parts right now. And I'm like, why? Why didn't everything block that out?
Nope. No, there's things you're going to remember. And that apparently is one of them. And I'm sorry for you.
Thank you.
So you had never seen this movie before. What'd you think?
I thought it was intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely not going to be one that I ever rewatch.
Sure.
You know, yeah, like I said, it's intriguing. There were some parts though where things just happened, and I
Uh-huh.
felt like, dear Mr. Polanski, fuck you. But
Also, right.
also, a line or two extra in these scenes would have helped your story.
Yeah.
Sincerely, fuck you again.
Right. But also,
And with
yeah.
love, Leslie.
WLL. Um, I did feel like the good doctor put it all together real fast and came to the right conclusion, which was like surprising. So here's what happens in this movie, for everyone who didn't watch it this week or previously in their life one time. Uh, Harrison Ford and his wife, he's a fancy schmancy doctor. They arrive in Paris for a conference he's going to speak at, and they're getting, just they're getting settled, and she takes a shower, he takes a shower, and when he comes out of she gets a phone call while he's in the shower. He comes out, she's gone. He's ordered some room service. He's thinks she's going to come back. He falls asleep because jet lag, etc. And when he wakes up, it's hours later, and she's still gone, and he doesn't know where she is. So he goes chasing around Paris. First, he starts with the concierge in the hotel and hotel management and the police and the flower shop across the street who thinks he wants to buy flowers for his wife, not that he's looking for his wife.
The bar.
Right. So then he breaks open. Oh, the other thing is they had the wrong suitcase.
Yes.
Got his
Very
suitcase,
important.
but not her suitcase. So he breaks open the suitcase and starts looking for clues. Finds a bunch of shit: Elle magazine, Statue of Liberty, camera, pack of smokes.
Oh,
and yeah, a
big old pack of smokes.
Yep, carton of Marlboro, everybody, and a matchbook. And the matchbook has a name on it and a phone number, conveniently.
Did it?
Yeah. And he chases down the name on the matchbook.
It's a heavy word. I mean, chase down the name on the matchbox or match. What is that called?
Book.
Matchbook. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I should know that.
Eh.
I'm not that young.
You've always been a Zippo gal.
That's true. I would like a Zippo. Anyway, neither here nor there. But right. I texted you at one point, Chase, because I think we were 30 minutes in, and she's already gone, and both Walter and I were like, this is not very frantic.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree, and I think that's an interesting thing about this. But let's circle
Continue.
Back to frantic.
Yes.
And whether it is or not. So he finds out that the name on the matchbook is he finds some drunk guy at the bar who tells him that he saw his wife get kidnapped, like thrown into a car, and he finds her bracelet on the street, and he's like, proof, going to the cops. And the cops are like, and then he goes to the embassy and he has to wait in line, and the embassy's like, well, we can fill out this form. He's like, but I filled out the form already at the police station, and what's your job? And we kind of we help you if you lose your passport, not
so
a whole lot.
You know someone here.
Yeah, exactly. And literally everyone he talks to suggests that his wife is probably just fucking other people right now.
Because it's Paris!
It's Paris. That's what we do. We're just going to go for it. That's
this
all.
Is Paris. People come here to have affairs.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen with Donna and or Brenda in the next 2 weeks in France. But I'm saying that there might be French men involved.
Donna's going to get recruited to go dance at the Moulin Rouge.
Ooh, I like it. I will not tell you whether you're right or wrong.
That should be right, because look at her love for costumes and insane wardrobe. Anyway.
That's true. They dress like mermaids there?
Chuck Rosen, call me.
That's right. I can fix it all. With ideas 35 years later.
Wait, but the French version needs to be
Oh,
Oh,
twirl. Yes. Oh, we've gone silly.
I'm in a goofy mood.
That's okay. I like it. Um, but the police can't help, and so he follows up with the name on the matchbook and finds the guy dead. And now he's on the run. And he runs into this woman, Michelle, somewhere that I don't remember where, but it was after Dee Dee, right? Because
He leaves and then comes back because he somehow
that's
figures that
right.
he needs to wait there because he
He listens to the answering machine tape. That's what he.
That's right. And he has that translated.
Yeah. So he one. See, and this is where I wasn't sure where the movie was going and why I thought it was really effective for like that first half hour is he walks in on a dead body.
Yeah.
A dead body to whom he had left a voicemail message, answering machine message. And he wisely takes that because that like links him and his missing wife to a dead body. It could very easily have been the story where he gets accused of murdering his wife and this guy. And now there's proof that there can, like, it could have gone in all these crazy directions, which is sort of what I didn't remember what happened in the movie, and I thought they very easily could have gone down that path. But he takes the answering machine tape and he gets it translated. He plays it for someone who speaks French because he does not. Shouts to Donna Martin. And the guy is like, "Oh, there's a message on here from some woman named Michelle who, and she was talking about the suitcase and that she had, whatever it was clear that she was involved in this and was going to try to get whatever she smuggled in to Dee Dee, who is the dead guy. So he stakes out Dee Dee's house. That's what happened. And then he meets this woman, and now the two of them are on the run. Like immediately, he figures out that she smuggled something in, probably dope. He also does some coke, just takes a bump right in the middle, which also I was like, I also thought that was going to get him in trouble, right?
We'll because that and what else? Because that was insane. Just right,
for me, it was like more proof that this story is going a different way.
Yeah.
Right? Like I thought, oh shit, his wife disappeared. No one's going to believe him. He's on drugs. This guy's dead. Like there's all of this stuff that if he can't explain it and prove that like he didn't do these things, he could very easily end up in a French prison.
It really should have been a dark comedy because the antics he got himself into, I wrote down at one point, I was like, dudes are wild. Like, yeah. Y'all are just, because you don't have to go through life worried about being raped. And the stuff that you get into without that fear is insane to me. And I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with that level of fear still, because at least no one's putting a coke nail under my nostril and like, here you go.
Well, I'll say this in defense of men, that's never happened to me either. I'm not like identifying with that part of Harrison Ford's character and what he's going through in this story. None of this should have. I've been to Paris once. That's the extent of how my life is similar to this.
He looks so out of control. And maybe...
Well, he should be, right?
I mean, yes, he should be, but... I don't know. It's one of those things where I feel like the more I think about the movie, the more I'm like, oh, Roman was relying a lot of this to be like inferred. And I'm like, okay, I think a line or two really would have like helped the story just a little bit to like understand. He is feeling so out of control that he is just a willing participant in all of these things happening. He's just trying to figure it out because no one's helping him. But then to suddenly like work with this woman and not still involve the police is baffling to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we're supposed to feel like he tried it their way.
Okay.
And got nowhere. Like he ran up against the bureaucracy of the hotel and they were helpful, but not really. Like they couldn't even get the morning concierge out of bed.
Oh, that's very...
Well, yeah. But he had to go chase that guy down at the gym. And the guy was like super helpful, most helpful hotel employee I've ever seen. And I used to work in hotels. Like, this guy is Hospitality Jones. He is, oh, sure, I'm in between sets. Let me tell you everything that happened with your wife, and you do not have to tip me. This is my love, is to help the people who come through my hotel. And if I can, in this moment, help you, sir, then I will have concierged.
He should work for the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Gold level concierge. I don't know. The guy was super fucking helpful.
He was.
And I'm glad for it. But it struck me. It was just like, wow, this guy. Like, just yeah. Like, some people, this is like the opposite of like every other film noir where they're like, I didn't see nothing. But you know what might a drink might refresh my memory.
I know.
And maybe if I had a drink here and maybe I don't know, $300 in this hand, maybe.
I really do want to remake this into a dark comedy because, like, every time he mentions it to someone without missing a beat, I want everyone to go like, "Was she here to meet someone else?"
Yes, I mean, is it possible?
Is it possible?
No offense, that your wife is fucking someone right now. Right now. Like, a minute ago, she was fucking someone. And now she maybe is fucking someone else?
I'm thinking of my wife. You're talking about your own.
I really liked that comeback. I thought that was pretty sharp.
It was good. I went, oh!
Yeah. Oh, you must be talking about your wife. I understand. I get why your frame of reference is what it is. On bygones. Anyway, it wasn't dope. It was a nuclear trigger mechanism. And he finds them, and the cops find him, and they're following him, and then they don't get the handoff, and then later on then they meet it by the river, and he gets the wife, and the cops open fire, and the bad guys open fire, and the French lady gets killed, and he and his wife get back in a cab, which is where they were at the beginning of the movie. I don't know. I think it's really effective.
Yes. I don't know. I felt like things not necessarily ended abruptly. It's just all of a sudden, like, all these beats happened and there wasn't much room to feel. Like, but then again, for me as a viewer, I'm constantly watching going, the whole time I'm just thinking, have fun explaining this to your wife.
Right. Yeah.
Even though I feel like, not to jump into this, but like I feel like they did a decent job of, maybe not to the outsiders' point of view, like the people around him who kept seeing him, it didn't look good from their perspective, but at the same time, like, the relationship was platonic. It was
right, but they also didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like, all the people around him were like, well, of course you're fucking her. Why wouldn't you be? Where's your wife? Oh, who cares? Apparently no one cares.
Well, that's not true. The wife of, what's his name? She cared.
She cared, but, like, she was going to let that shit slide. Like, everybody was. There wasn't a single person in this movie that was scandalized by him running around with this blonde woman from Paris. You know? They're like, I get it. I get it. Makes sense. I mean, look at her. I get it.
I mean, yes. I get it, too. She's beautiful.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things about this that I thought worked really well in sucking me into this movie. And I'm wondering if you noticed them or if they had any impact on you at all. Okay. The first, and maybe this is just from my very personal perspective, of someone who, when the water is running, can't hear shit.
Yeah.
Like, if there is water running in this house and someone tries to talk to me, I cannot understand what they're saying. It's a zero-sum game. Can't do it. Impossible. No. And when they start this movie, she goes in the shower and he's listening to the answering machine message, and the water in the shower comes on, and they lower the volume of the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And they raise the volume of the shower, so you can't hear. I'm trying to listen to the phone, and I can't hear it. And I'm like, Jesus, that feels real to me. And then he gets in the shower and he can't hear a word she's saying, which again, 100% accuracy, no notes. And it plays into the fact that she vanishes. And they set all of that up so well, plus the fact that he doesn't speak French.
Yeah.
And then they don't subtitle the movie. So you are, unless you speak French, you're in the same position he's in, where you're kind of understanding most of what's happening around you. It's really helpful if someone translates a couple of things, and he misreads a couple situations because he doesn't understand what people are saying and thinks that they're like not helping him and shit like that.
Yeah.
But I thought that like the sound design and the lack of subtitles were super effective in putting me in his shoes.
Absolutely. I was really intrigued. There were a lot of things that like started pulling me in the beginning. Like one, the amount of like intimacy, and we'll get there. I'm not trying to jump ahead, but it's exciting. But then the fact that like she leaves the frame and it just focuses on where she was
the whole time. Yeah,
the whole time, and I was just, it's so eerie.
That was another thing that they did, and it starts in the hotel room, but there is a depth of field to what's happening on screen where there's action in the foreground, and always between the two people that are the focal point of the action, there's a lane between them, and there's stuff happening behind. And it's that most of the stuff isn't super important, but it's very clear. It's not out of focus. You can pay just as much attention to those people as you can pay to these people. And it's set up in the shower where it's like what you should be paying attention to is the depth of field stuff, the stuff in the background where she gets a phone call and then she tries to talk, and instead of him in the foreground, and I spent the whole movie looking basically down that pathway between the two people who were doing something. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, no, I agree. Although,
say what you want about Polanski, he shoots a good movie.
I mean, there's a reason he has gotten away with so much, and
yeah,
you know, like many others before him, after him, there's a reason they get away with it, and it's because they're good at one thing.
Yeah, it's there's a former basketball coach, radio guy, who basically one of the many things he says is get fired for anything but losing. If you get fired for losing, you're probably not going to get another job. But if you get fired for literally anything else, as long as you win, you'll get another job. It's the same thing with directing. Like, you're not going to, if you're this good, you're going to continue to get work. Or someone's going to give you money to do your thing. Because I don't know how much, have you seen much Polanski other than this?
I don't think so. I forget. He did Rosemary's Baby.
Yep. And in Chinatown.
No, I do need to see that.
I mean, Rosemary's Baby scared me more than anything I've ever seen when I was a kid.
I'm sure.
I mean, it freaked me the fuck out. Yeah, I don't think you want to watch it. No. Chinatown is brilliant. Like, Chinatown is great. And it's you know, like he did so much good stuff. Plus was married to Sharon Tate and only didn't get murdered by Charles Manson because he was out of the country. Yeah. I mean, like, you know, this guy, and you know, he lived through World War II. Like, okay. No, I mean, as a Jew in Europe, he survived World War II. Yeah.
Did not know that.
This guy has had a life full of things. Not all of them wonderful.
Yikes.
But So obviously, for those who don't know, he is he's currently and has been since 1977 a fugitive from justice and is not allowed back in the United States, which is why all of his movies from that point forward have been shot overseas in various locales. Not coming back here because he would end up in prison potentially.
The one sexual assailant America will willingly put behind bars, I suppose.
But only if he comes to us.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
You have to make the effort to be arrested.
Yeah, no, you have to come here. It's too. I don't want to. I'd love to arrest you.
We have the movie deal of a lifetime. Come here. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. I'd love to arrest you, but
behind bars.
I don't want to get up. It's really the problem. So if you came right here, I'll cuff them and stuff. All right. So there's something something I texted you about. Okay. So here is, I'm going to tell you a story. There's a story floating around Hollywood, 1986, 1987. And it's also, it's just going, it's a seed of an idea that someone that just keeps pitching to one studio after another. I've got this great idea, and here's what happens. A guy comes into something unexpected, and he doesn't really know what to do with it. And at the same time, either like as part of getting the unexpected thing or like as oddly coincidental, also get something illegal. And the people who gave the illegal, who want the illegal thing back, they kidnap someone he loves. And he has to set up an elaborate scheme in order to get back what was the person who was kidnapped, make sure that this illegal substance doesn't fall into the hands of the criminals, and like convince the police along the way that this is really something happening and that he's not the bad guy. Okay?
I don't care.
So this story is brought to Leonard Nimoy. And he says, and he harkens back to his namesake, Dr. Spock, who made the instruction manual. And he said, what if the guy who got the thing was actually three guys, right? And the thing that they get is a fucking baby that they have to take care of. But they also get some drugs, right? And they have to get the drugs back to they got to get the baby back, but they don't want to give the drugs to the drug dealers, and so they have to get the cops involved. And let's cast Ted Danson and Steve Guttenberg and someone who played Indiana Jones, however briefly. Okay? Green light. Make it. So Leonard Nimoy makes Three Men and a Baby. The same story comes to Roman Polanski, and he says, what if the thing is a suitcase? And what if the illegal thing isn't dope, but we feint at it? It's actually a nuclear detonator. And what if instead of drug dealers, they're terrorists? And what if instead of a baby that gets kidnapped, it's his wife? And can I kill a French prostitute? And they say, green light, make Frantic.
Can I marry the French prostitute? Yes.
Yeah. Afterwards, can I please marry the French prostitute who bears no resemblance to my previously murdered wife? The Three Men and a Baby and Frantic are kind of the same movie.
Yikes. And here I was watching it thinking, man, no one ever believes Harrison Ford.
Right. Oh, I forgot. And I'll cast Indiana Jones.
Yep.
You take your Indiana Jones, I'll take my Indiana Jones, and we're going to make very different movies, me and you, Mr. Spock.
Wow.
Yeah. that is a realization that popped into my head almost fully formed when I noticed that she was smuggling something that was drugs, and I'm like, holy shit, this is just three men and a baby. So
That's
if I'm not the first person who's ever said that out loud or written it, I will be shocked. But it doesn't make me wrong. Like,
yeah. Again, I was just thinking again. Harrison Ford's the doctor again. People don't
yep,
believe him. Something's happened to his wife.
yeah, there's a going around for him.
You know. Also, it's an '80s movie, but this time with no boobs. Like Walter was very disappointed.
There was, I mean, with there, but for the grace of that bear, we would have had some full frontal Harrison Ford.
I was like, oh, I was not expecting like loins to be seen.
I know it was. I mean, if that was he shot then, or was he knocked out? I can't remember.
He was knocked out.
He falls, managing to hold the bear in place.
Yeah,
which is great.
Yeah, that was a bold move on his part. Again, I just thought, man, his wife being taken has changed him.
Yeah,
he's just getting naked in this bed to
you know what he was? He was willing to bear all.
I see what you tried to do there.
Nailed it.
Stop myself.
No, I wasn't going to make you spit. I was
okay.
going to give myself a high five because I fucking nailed it. Great.
Like he nailed that bear.
Oh, fuck that bear right in the back of its skull. I did like that ploy, though. Yeah, I know.
Thank you. Okay.
I did like that ploy where he like gets into bed, gets completely naked to sell the story.
Like,
baby, come back to bed. What are you doing?
You all woke me up. What's going on?
You know what that was? Phil!
You changed, man! Once again, we get some great dancing in this movie.
I know, I'm feeling pretty good about it. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm so happy with 3 Men and a Baby thing. I can't even tell you.
I know. It's pretty great.
Yeah. And I liked being able to put myself in the mind of Roman Polanski there. Hey, is it okay if we kill a prostitute? All right, sure. Do it.
It's exactly how he said it.
Probably. Yeah, I believe that's how he talks. Okay. Would you like to have some adventures and intimacy?
Yes.
Please.
Great segue from nude Harrison Ford nailing a... Okay, so immediately at the start of this movie, we've got a lot of sweet snuggling happening, and I immediately thought, like, snuggles can tell you so much about relationship. Obviously they can tell you like how lovey-dovey this relationship is, how long they've been together, or not. Like, and then I realized the further into the movie we got, as they're still like canoodling and touching, and she does this little like brush off his shoulder again, like the smallest gestures, they tell us so much.
Yeah.
And as all of that is adding up, I start to feel this ominous feeling. And yes, I have read the synopsis, so I know what's going to happen. But I have a lot of things making my brain not work the way it should. And also I'm human. So it's called you forget stuff as
right
in the day-to-day. And I went, oh no.
Right.
All of this lovey-doveyness is foreshadowing because something bad's going to happen to her.
Mm-hmm.
And of course I was right. As the synopsis alluded to, right.
The thing that I remembered was right, but I forgot it.
Like, I'm brilliant in other ways. Predicting this movie, I was not. And so obviously all of that is supposed to show us like he loves her. He wants to find her. He will stop at nothing to find her. Now,
you understand his motivation. Like,
yeah,
she's gone, he wakes up, oh fuck, like this is someone he very much loves, and you've seen it.
which you wouldn't think that you need to show how much they love each other in order to explain why he wants to find her, but it makes sense. Again, the
It
thing,
also explains why he doesn't give any credence to the idea that she's out there fucking all of Paris.
yeah,
You know, like for never for 1 second does he think that's what's going on here.
yeah. I wrote down, and I just had this thought as an answer because I wrote down like, does more PDA alert us to bad things about to happen? And we get that in horror movies,
Mm-hmm.
do we not?
Sure.
The few that I've seen. I
Yeah,
mean,
and it's also it's that I can't watch a movie where someone is driving a car and they show you the person driving the car from a camera inside the car. That
oh,
car is about to get T-boned. Like
oh yeah,
every time you cut to, like, if someone has to go somewhere on a TV show and they show them driving the car, you're like, oh no, that person's gonna get in a wreck. Like,
I figured you were going to talk about how whenever someone drops something and then they stupidly lean over to pick it up.
oh, they crash. Of course. Yes. Yeah. No, there's all that. I mean, so many of those things. They're just short, like they're shortcuts. They put you there immediately. You've seen them so many times. You now expect it.
Yeah.
You know.
Also, I'm going to start referencing this point. I must find a way to like summarize it better, but you can't tell me, no one can tell me, well, they couldn't anyway, but now they really can't tell me that people don't think of the smaller things when it comes to intimacy.
Mm.
You know, because when I mention what I do, people immediately think sex, and it's like, do you not know what other intimacy is? I know
Yeah.
you do because of lines like this.
Mm-hmm.
Around the waist? No, around the shoulder.
Right. Yes, that whole thing. And then he has to show how he's imagining it.
Uh-huh.
You know. Yeah, I thought that was super effective.
Because again, around the shoulder, like, okay, but was he gripping her or was it relaxed? Like,
Yeah. And what if it was around the waist? Well, that's a different thing. Right, that feeds into the story they would imagine is happening, which is she met a lover, and he put his arm around her waist and she put her head on his shoulder and they walked out the door.
yeah.
You know, but even arm around the shoulder could be, hey there buddy, but
Uh-huh.
not like this. You know,
No.
it's all very different based on just those changes in physicality.
Yeah. And in how they're interpreted. Like,
Mhm.
so I found that line to be really interesting and validating.
Yeah.
I loved it. I want to jump to so where I think things were lacking, or
Mm.
maybe they could have been done differently or done better. I'll say
Bear
done
sex.
better. Huh?
Bear sex.
No, not the bear sex, oddly enough. That was top notch.
Okay.
But the relationship between Mr. Walker, and
Dr. Walker.
Dr. Walker. Beginning to dislike this Dr. Walker. Um, the relationship between him and Michelle,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because I feel like obviously a lesser movie would have had something brew between them. And you do get I it's weird. There's like a platonic thing and yet clearly care like comes
Yeah.
into the mix. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
He
he
very much cared about her by the end of the movie,
yeah.
and vice versa, or she wouldn't have stuck it with him. You know.
Yeah, and so the dance scene in particular I find to be really interesting because you know, he goes to sit close to her and then she says like, well, I hate this music and leaves, you know, almost in a way to suggest like, I mean, one, she really could have hated the music, but it also kind of looks like I don't want to be this close to you.
Right.
For whatever reason. And but then they have this dance moment together, which is very interesting, not just because her moves seem so out there, but they seem so out there because he is so contained
Yeah.
and he looks uncomfortable. He looks afraid to the point where it like builds up and he finally does kind of take her in his arms like maybe this is my life raft right now,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So it's again, it's at first glance, I thought, okay, I think all of this could have been done better. And it still could have, but the fact that, again, I'm still thinking about it and
Mhm.
realizing this is probably what they were meaning, or these actors were able to take the bad blocking they got and make it better.
I don't. I think the blocking in this movie is probably pretty good because
Yeah,
all of the
bad
like
was a bad word for it.
right, but like that depth of field thing where
Mhm.
the action is happening in the front and in the back, that is a lot of coordination
Yeah.
of movement, of physical like location. You know, this person has to cross at the right moment for all of this stuff to work. You know, and so I think this in this movie in particular, all of that stuff was very deliberately thought out.
I think this is I think this is a tough case where uh I'm having trouble uh separating the art from the artist,
Sure.
because like even though I've liked other controversial people and have been able to separate the art from the artist just fine, but because I have no like relationship to Roman Polanski or his work,
Hmm.
it's clouding me a little bit on this. So like again, bad blocking was not the right word. um
Gotcha.
but I still think some stuff could have been enhanced just a little bit, but I'm going to think that about all the intimacy in these
Probably.
movies that we watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was still really cool again how just how they showed that relationship, and it was shown best in that dance scene. um but yeah, I'm really sad that they're like, I'm sad she had to die. I don't think she had
Right.
to. I'm sad that they didn't get more of a goodbye. It felt like
Yeah.
it felt like both women couldn't exist in his world together.
Right.
It was
I mean,
strange.
she could have gone to live with Carla in Pasadena. Like that is so
Sure.
far away. You can't possibly go visit her. You might as well be in a different universe. So, I
Yep.
mean, we've seen you can get rid of chicks in lots of different ways that don't involve shooting them on the banks of the Seine. But
The,
that's pretty
did
cinematic.
you note? Did you note that they were both in similar dresses?
Who? The wife
His
and
wife and
Michelle?
Michelle.
Oh,
Not
no, I
only
didn't
both,
notice.
not only are they both in like the same type of red, but they're also both like, I mean, obviously hers is a cocktail dress and, you know, more for like her age because it has like a cutout. And then the other one for Betty Buckley is more, it's a very sad, like red dress, I have to say.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean,
that
she did
fabric did.
just grab it, throw it on. You know, like it
Oh, I
wasn't,
didn't
that's not
realize.
what she was
Oh,
worn. You know what I mean? Like I mean,
yeah.
she packed it, but like she grabbed that and threw it on because she was going to go meet someone in the lobby. I wish I knew why. I wish I knew why she went to the lobby because it's never clear. Like, who is
Yeah.
this guy on the phone? What did he say that convinced her she needed to go downstairs? Um,
Yeah.
I wish that we had gotten an answer to that. I don't think it matters, but I'm curious about it. But she did just grab a dress and put it on.
So yeah, I mean, they are, and they're the same length. Like they both, you know, are,
Mhm.
I would say like a T length dress. Um, so I thought that was very interesting, and I thought it was going to be a moment of like someone got confused and was aiming for his wife, but then shot her, even though
Mhm.
they have different hairstyles and etc. But I don't know. It also felt like maybe something more, you know, like
Yeah,
again, for some reason you can't have both of these women in your life
right. Yeah,
because then it
maybe.
makes
I
no
mean,
sense. No.
yeah. Um, Another movie from 1987. When
Yep.
Harry Met Sally.
Yep.
Um, Anything else for intimacy?
No, that's all I
Okay.
got.
Um, the needle drop I got, I was listening to when you logged on, and I was kind of making my little dance. I was doing my dance moves, both of them. Um, so the dance you're doing is so the song in this is I've seen that face before, and it's a
Mm.
version by Grace Jones. Who do you know Grace Jones at all?
No, but I think I saw a picture of her because I was looking up the scene on YouTube, and then underneath was like the singer's video.
Uh huh.
But otherwise, I don't
Yeah,
know.
great. Grace Jones, like she was a. Here's what I know about Grace Jones. She has like this whole popularity that has nothing to do with anything I know about her, because
Okay.
she was in A View to a Kill, like she was in a James
Yes.
Bond movie. So I know her from that, and I know she was a musician of some sort, but not music I ever really listened to, so I couldn't tell you. And I know what she looks like. Like she is very tall. She is
Mm.
gorgeous. She has this like for especially for the time, this crazy haircut. Like this was
Yeah.
not your normal model hairstyle, and she was
Yeah.
model gorgeous. And so she is very like, and because she's so tall, and she's also quite dark skinned, and so I think that she was presented as ominous a little bit in to like
Mm.
little white kids in Indiana in 1983. Like
Yeah.
she's beautiful, but she's also kind of scary because look how big she is, and her hair is crazy. You don't know what this lady's up to. So, like her physicality is so much of what I know about Grace Jones, and also she fought against James Bond, and I believe
Hell
she
yeah.
fought against in a dirigible, um, as most fights should be fought. A View to a Kill is not a great movie, but it's got a great James Bond theme song by Duran Duran, and
Oh. Is
I
that a
like it
Roger
more
Moore
than
one?
it is a Roger Moore one. Yeah,
We watched all of those in the pandemic because,
mm.
oddly enough,
So
that's
it's
our
the
favorite
one.
James Bond.
It's the
Roger Moore.
one. Yeah, Roger Moore. It's the one that has the climax on the Golden Gate Bridge and has the
Okay.
horse racing. And Christopher Walken's in it.
Sadly, like many other things in the pandemic, I have blocked it out. I
I
remember
mean,
Grace Jones only.
yeah, James Bond movies. The plots are largely interchangeable. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what 90% of those movies is happening. But A View to a Kill, I've seen a lot, so I remember it.
Interesting.
But yeah, but Grace Jones was also a musician, and I think had a lot of hits that were in maybe hits in Europe,
Okay.
which is why I didn't really know about the music part, other than I knew she was a musician, and also this big, scary, beautiful lady with crazy hair and a
Was it
voice. Ooh.
wasn't part of her look too that the androgyny that was on Vogue at the time?
A little bit of that. There was some militarism in the some of the costuming that she wore. I think in pictures I've seen that are like in my head, very broad
Square.
shouldered,
Hmm.
squared shouldered, like jackets that cut in at a hard V kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
I have that image in my head. Um, yeah. So yeah, she's pretty cool, but she sings this song in this movie.
It's a good song.
It is. I was grooving to it.
Yeah.
What else time? What else you got?
Like I said, dudes are wild. Snorting coke off a rando's nail, going into a
Mm-hmm.
stranger's home, finding a dead person. Like, will you all stop at nothing?
No, we keep going. Because you saw, I gave her a hug earlier. Did you see the way she rested her head on my shoulder in the taxi cab when we were both really, really jet lagged? You see how much that I love her. So of course I'm gonna go take that bump and fuck that bear's skull and fight the terrorists and whatever. Um, with the Statue of Liberty in my hand and behind me.
Okay, also, the rooftop shit was, again, why it should be a dark comedy. It was laughable.
No, that was so stressful. That's the first. I loved that. The where he's walking on the roof and he slips and drops the bag and shit. I loved that because it like yes, it like that could have been played for yucks, but it wasn't. Like most of the time when you see people in movies running across the roofs of buildings in Europe, they're just Tom Cruise in it. I mean, no
Yeah.
problems at all. And instead, you see what it would actually be like, which is really hard to do.
And also, shit's breaking because it survived World War II, so it's probably
Right.
barely holding up.
Yeah. And then like he drops the bag and it catches the physicality of that whole thing where he's holding on to the antenna and he doesn't think to try to unhook it from what it's caught on.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, yeah, I have this idea. I'll take my shoes off because my feet will have better traction. And that works. But like then he falls again. I mean, the whole thing I thought was really well done and much more realistic than any other like rooftop action sequence that you've ever seen.
That's fair.
It could totally be played for yucks. I mean, it could be Clark Griswolded, 100%. It could. You could do falling off the ladder gags and falling off the roof gags all day long. But I thought it was really effective the way they did it here. So
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was on. I didn't realize he was on her roof until he dropped through the skylight into the bathroom. But I was like, well, that was convenient.
I thought of Die Hard when he took his shoes off. I was like, oh
Yeah.
God, here we go again.
Yep. And this is like a year before Die Hard. So people in the 80s barefoot, which is the thing. We're just going barefoot.
Bare chested and barefoot and bears.
And bears, fucking bears. I mean, we were barefoot in the park last week. We're barefoot on roofs this week. It's bear, 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 bear. All right. Is this anyone's defining role?
Maybe Emmanuel's.
Maybe. I think she might have been a model. And then she married Roman Polanski, which might have ended up being a defining role. I don't know how long they stayed married.
I couldn't say. I thought they were still married.
They might be. I don't know.
I think they're still married.
Oh, there you go. I mean, good for him, I guess. Finally.
Listen, there's someone out there for everyone.
Well, and like the Charles Manson thing. The Charles Manson thing is a bummer. You know what I mean? Like, that's a real bummer to have to get over. So, I'm glad he did.
Surviving Nazis is a real bummer.
That's right. Yeah, it's a bummer, man.
It sounds like he dealt with a lot of jerks.
That's right. Strong men also cry, Mr. Lebowski. Strong men also cry. That's a bummer, man. It's a bummer. Yeah.
It's got all the digressions.
Yep. All right. I didn't have any because we talked. The one thing that I had in What Else Time was that depth of action thing, which I thought was pretty interesting. But we talked about it earlier. So, yeah, and the audio pieces of it I thought were really, really good. Here's a thing. Did the pace of this movie build tension or did it take too long for you?
I don't have an answer.
Okay. I'll tell you for the 13-year-old it took too long.
I don't know that it did either. Like, I can understand where it took too long in some parts. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it was consistently intriguing. I mean,
yeah,
I would say the most anticipation I felt was when she left the frame. And then as you know, and then my anticipation built waiting for him to finally like snap out of this zen. Because again, not to like make Walter and I sound amazing, but as we're watching this, he was, but we were pretty great. We were like, I would be flipping the fuck out.
Right.
I would have woken up from that nap and been like, oh my God, where the hell are they? You
Right.
know? So, and again, but that's where I realized too, cell phones have ruined us.
Sure.
You know?
Yep.
Because obviously there was a time when you could just leave and,
Hmm.
be like, and assume, oh, they'll be back. You know,
Uh-huh.
that is the way of things. There was
Hmm.
a time when anxiety was less prevalent, and I never got to experience it.
Well, I like, Laura was just in Scotland and London, um, and I could
Hey,
see her.
man.
Yeah, well, are you fucking your way through the UK? You sure, mister? Um, but I could see where she was all the time, like because like location share and stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah, she was like, "Oh, I'm at this bookstore," and I could click on it and go, "There's that bookstore. How cool is that?" So like across the world, I could tell you exactly where she was. Um, if she had vanished, I could have said, This is where she was last."
Yeah.
And when, and like I had so much information that it could have been helpful were I Dr. Walker in this situation. Um,
Now, is
but
that,
he,
I'm curious, is that something like you all are just out of curiosity, or is that like truly, is that a safety thing?
um, well, she kept being like, "Do you want to know where I'm going? Like, here's my itinerary." I was like, "I don't care. Like, go have fun." She's like, "Right, but wouldn't it be helpful for you to know where I was if something happened?" I'm like, "Shit, I guess that's a good point. Like,
Okay.
like that's a solid point." So like, put your itinerary in the calendar. So like, I was like, "Oh, so today you're doing this. I know that, So, um, but I honestly I hadn't even thought about it until she was like, "Well, just because I'm halfway around the world." I'm like, "Ah, fair point." You
And
know.
again, I like to a point that we have this technology, and
Mhm.
yet also having this technology is kind of feeding into some paranoia.
It can.
It
I
can.
mean, it certainly can. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
So I think
I
that's
mean,
partly why I mean, yeah, I definitely think if you had Frantic as a dark comedy set now, it's gonna
right.
be a lot more frantic than it was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, there'd be lost cell. Like she would have lost her cell phone immediately, and like, what about her watch? Oh, her watch was, smashed against a wind. Whatever. You'd write it all in so that you disconnect her. But it really would change um the frantic nature of the person.
Mm-hmm.
I think that someone in that situation now would be far more frantic than he was.
Absolutely.
Because of that, like we can check our phones and know. Like we're
Because
used to being able.
we need
Yeah.
that instant answer,
Mhm.
or like, did they read it? Are they responding?
Right.
The
Yeah,
dots are moving.
that's right. Oh, the entire world exists. Multitudes exist in those three dots. I mean, it is the entire universe is possible in those three dots. Literally every time you see them.
I love when I manage to leave my phone in another room.
Hmm.
I love
I
it.
did I did that today after work. I was charging my phone and my watch, and I missed a call from Laura.
Yep.
I was like, "Well, fucking course," you know.
Well, yeah, that's always the time when Walter has forgotten his keys and he's like, "I'm out here. Can you help me?" And I'm just living my life in another
That's right.
room. He's like, "What? I'm a phone on you?" And I'm like, "Because I don't want it to be on me all the time."
But it needs to be. I have packages. Uh, is this the EST of anything for you? What's the EST going here?
It's the least frantic movie I've ever seen.
It's pretty. I mean, it's stressful though, even though it's not quite frantic. Maybe it was ironic.
Listen, I don't think for all the, I'm sure I've said crazier shit has stressed me out, or the sillier shit has stressed me out.
Mhm.
Yeah, noise is off. That stresses me out. This, mm,
You're good.
yeah.
Yeah. Would you like to buy some roses for your wife? Maybe when she comes back from fucking all of Paris.
Cherchez la femme.
We're ridiculous. I yeah, this was the most realistic European sailing adventure for me.
I didn't know where you were going with that. I was like, what is realistic? Oh, the roofs.
The rooftop. That whole rooftop scene was like the way that would go of anything I could imagine.
Especially the piece breaking off, because again, I'm like, oh yeah, this is, it barely survived Nazis, so things will be falling apart.
Yeah, we're lucky that the glass hasn't broken and you haven't fallen in. Like that's So like that I liked quite a bit. And I did think this was the most effective use of no subtitles.
Yeah.
I really liked that. I liked not knowing what everyone around him was saying, but still picking up the vibe of the thing.
The vibe of it. See, and it did bother me a little bit, only because as a former good French student, I wasn't picking up. But again, as my high school teacher would tell us all the time, like, you all can be very good in here. It's not going to make you fluent because you would need to live there to become fluent.
Right. Yeah. Garçon my tattoo. Savez-vous?
Stuck with the soul.
I know. That's right. It can be prepared many ways.
All they had to do was look for le poulet.
Right. Les poissons, les poissons. How I love les poissons.
Wow. How?
This was after Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They should have known.
I know. Little Mermaid was the year I was born.
Yeah. I was already alive. So I think that once again we have proven my theory that everything comes back to Aaron's spelling. Even Frantic.
Even Roman Polanski.
Even Roman Polanski. So join us here next week, Cheesemeisters, when we continue our journey through cinematic Paris. We have a couple of ideas. Maybe we'll tell you later.
Yeah.
But we did come up with a few other Paris movies, and we may come up with a few more. We'll see. But we're going to be back in Paris next week for sure, because Donna and Brenda are still there.
Yeah.
Stavella and Davou. So
I love being in Paris.
Yeah, or in the back lot with cobblestones, which apparently is just what Paris is.
No, it's so much more.
No. I'll on 90210.
I loved it.
I did too. I liked Paris. I wish there was more shade. It was very hot that day.
Oh.
No trees.
We were there in June, so it wasn't bad.
We were too, and it was awful. No, we were there in July, but it was really bad. It was like the hottest week in like when we were in London, but it was the hottest week in London in like 100 years. It was awful.
It's because you all were there.
And we brought it. We brought the heat.
Double high five.
And we brought it down to France with us. So, yeah, it was toasty that day. Air condition.
Please listen to us in France.
I do think we have some French listeners. They're going to be like, what the fuck is wrong with these two people?
I know, but here's the thing. I know we are not the most annoying Americans because we just watched them on 90210.
That's true. And, you can tell we're having silly fun. So, until next week, Cheesemeisters.
Cheers.
Well, I was actively thirsty there.